Okay? So forgiveness is huge in this moment. The reason why, when you lunch with intention, you choose to forgive. And I love this picture because it said, did you wash them? Did you wash them? Did you wash your hands? And in our presentation on Saturday, I kept putting my hands up. And I kept putting my hands up because every time something came up that I knew hurt me, I would throw my hands up. And that throwing my hands up meant I forgive them. I forgive me. And I walk away from that. And you know one thing, when you hold your hands up, it's also mean a signal of release. I'm not holding my fist. I'm not clenching my fist. I'm holding a wide open hand to say, I'm done. I've started over, and this is the new me, and I love it. I release that. And I'm washing my hands to prevent any dis-ease. I don't want any dis-ease in my life. I don't want any uncertainties in my life. I don't want to be able to sit back and say, this is the reason why I couldn't move forward, because of what I was holding on to. You know, when you look at your hands and they're wide open, you can't hold on to anything with the wide open hands. But you can easily receive something with a wide open hand. Self-forgiveness. I will forgive myself for being depressed and thinking that I have to handle it all. Take a moment right now and just say, I forgive me. I forgive me. Because I don't have to handle it all. I can handle what's in my grasp. Especially as single moms, we want to have to handle it all. But you know what? I believe if we put a perfect plan in place, a perfect space, everything possible can be handled, because then we can cast on responsibility to those kids, cast on responsibility to others that are around us who will love to come and support us. God, I release, with your hands up, I release this to you, that I will walk in the trueness of who you have created. Ladies, you are a beast. You are unstoppable, and you can do anything you put your mind to. But you have to release those, and you have to release the things that have happened. Because you know what? If those things had not happened, you wouldn't be here today. And for you to be on this line listening to me right now, you're at the strongest that you can ever be. And you're at the strongest because of what you've encountered. You're at the strongest because of what you have taken on. You're at the strongest because of what you have survived. So instead of saying, God, I don't want to handle it all, pat yourself on the back and say, God, thank you for giving me the capacity to handle it and to take it on and to see it to the end. So let's answer a few of these questions. In order for you to forgive, in order for you to walk away, what is it that you have to forgive? And what is it in detail? I want you to take a minute. I'm going to give you 1 minute, and I want you to think about it. What is it? And you can write it down and you can say it, but I want you to think about it. What is it? I'm going to give you a minute. Good job. Now what I want you to do, I want you to list what it is in detail. What hurt you? How did it hurt you? And who hurt you? Where was it? I want you to go in detail, because once you put it down, we're going to throw it away. I got to get it out of you in order for us to move forward. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to do that. Good job. Good job. Good job. Okay, so we just did who it was and why it happened. I want you to end it with, I forgive me for this happening, and I forgive them for it happening. Because sometimes people make decisions in our lives that we don't agree with, but we have to live with. And when we have to live with those things, sometimes we can hate. We can hate to the highest of hate, to the point it's murder in our minds. But I want you to forgive them. You know why? Because this slide goes back to tell you, did I wash my hands? Did I release them? Did I prevent dis-ease? If you don't let that go, if you don't say I forgive, if you don't forgive them, dis-ease sits in your body waiting to flare up years later. That's why a lot of women end up having cancer, liver cancer, because liver is the seat of our emotions. The liver is the seat of our anger. And if you can begin to just release them, take a deep breath in, there you go, and breathe it out. Good job. And say, I forgive them. They did what they had to do. And I forgive them. And God, I thank you for them doing that. Because you know why? I wouldn't be the woman that I am today if they hadn't done it. And I'm better today. I'm wiser today. And I'm stronger today. Okay? So now what I want you to do, I want you to write down the words, I am a conqueror. This is how the conquering act came to be. This is how I feel. And this is what I do. Conquerors. What I want you to think about, when you think of a conqueror, how does a conqueror feel? What does a conqueror do? How does a conqueror act? So when those repetitive patterns come in your mind, you're going to say, am I thinking like a conqueror? Am I thinking like a conqueror? Am I thinking great thoughts? Am I thinking certainty? Am I thinking strength? Or am I thinking bitterness? Am I thinking woe is me? Conquerors don't think that way. In the Word of God, He said, I am more than a conqueror, which means I am above and beyond the call of duty. So I choose to act above where they think I'm seated. I choose to act above where they think my mindset is. Okay, so the last part of this exercise is to choose an empowering word. An empowering word. You're going to choose a word that will cause you to act out. I remember in our session on Saturday, I said I used to act like a cheetah or bamboo. What was it? It was, I forgot what it was, but it was a monkey. And every time that pattern, every time that thought came up in my head where I wanted to crawl into a corner and die, crawl into a corner and cry, I started acting like a monkey. My arms would go up and I start, acting like a monkey. And people wouldn't say it's very polite, but I had to find something funny that would bring me out of that depressed mode. So I want you to come up with an empowering word that's going to put you in a laughing state, but it's going to interrupt your pattern. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to do that. Good job. Okay, so as we wrap up our session today, what did we learn? We learned about the cave experience, and we learned how significant it is for the ego. We learned that we have to write things out. When we write things out and we get it out of us, we can easily discard of it, but we can get it out of us, which means we can rewrite our story. Number 2 is a self-assessment. We have to take a self-assessment of who we are, which means we have to look at the things that are on us, like the eagle did. The feathers are heavy and my beak is broken. My talons are weak. How can I strengthen each area? And each area, it took time for it to grow back. It took time for it to be healed effectively so that I would be able to go back out and pick up those things that was heavy. Go back out and fly and soar like I used to with no weight on me. You also learned today how to identify the first stage of who we are without attachments. Those attachments on us, who we are without them. I'm better. I know it happened to me, but that does not define who I am. I know I went through this, yeah, but it doesn't define who I am. You know what? I might have done what they said I did, but it's not who I am. I am more than a conqueror, and I survived those things because of who God has created me to be. Next thing we learn to wash our hands. How do we wash our hands? We let go of the things that are not holding on to us. When we lift up our hands, we are expressing to our innermost being, I release that. I let that go. This is the stage that I have to get past. Why? Because as long as I continue to hold on to things, I have dis-ease in my body. I have dis-ease in my mind. I have dis-ease in my language. Last but not least, replace the time and space with where you're going and interrupt the pattern. We talked about this whole session of interrupting the patterns of how you think, interrupting the patterns of where you were, interrupt the patterns of where you're going. And in order for you to do that, you have to write those things down. You have to write the plan, make it simple. And you have to write down where you're going, write down where you've been and discard it. And we can have a ceremony and discard it. That would be so great if we could do that. Have a ceremony and discard it, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I'm going to live on. Why? Because I must. You have to move forward. Interrupt those patterns. Okay, guys? So I'm excited. That was module number 3. And we'll be moving on to module number 4. God bless.